All right, this one will be a little longer as we kind of learn the intricacies of strokes and things like that. So let's see, we have some drawing tools here. We have this line segment tool. So let's just draw a nice little line segment. Again, if we hold shift, we can constrain it and go vertical. And so now I have this line drawn. Now right now, it's got, as I drew it, it has no fill and no stroke, which is a problem, right? We need a strokes to see it. So I'll grab this, it's still there, even though I've clicked off it, it's still there, I can find it. And I'll go ahead and go up to my thing. I will just use this little quick black thing here. I hate that it goes to RGB, I'll just do that. And so right there I have my, my line. And next you have to look in this palette over here. You see these three lines. Click on that to bring up the stroke palette. And probably by default, you'll see it something like this, where the only option is to have some weight. And so if I've ever used any of these and it doesn't look like that, there's usually a show options where you can get all the rest of the options here. So let's say we want a 20-point weight stroke. So we can go ahead and use that, or just go jump to this. We could also just click in here and type what we want. So 20 points. Now notice that we also want rounded caps. So let's look at at the next option here. So we have these different caps. We can do this where it kind of extends past the end of the thing to squares, and we can do this rounded cap, right? Because again, we learned from line, caps are one of the things that make a line feel different. Now, I want you to make a copy of this. So go ahead and go back to your black arrow and use Option to pull out this. Now, you can turn any stroke into an object. And so what does that mean? Let's do this. Click on this, go up to Object, Path, Outline Stroke. And now notice, now we're going to go to the A arrow real quick. When you grab this, you have just this one line of stroke, and the stroke is built, and it's this like kind of weird ephemeral thing. But now on this one, notice we actually have anchor points that I can go and drag this out, where if I drag this, it's always still going to be a line. So that can be big. Sometimes a lot of times you want to take your strokes and turn them into shapes, right? So let's draw another line. So that's a real complicated thing that you have to know. Let me show you another fun tool to play with. So again, I said that this is just a line. So I'm going to show you another tool. I'm going to hit I on my keyboard, or if you look over here, you're going to see an eyedropper tool. So I want this line to take this thing's properties. I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and notice that even though it was that, I did that. You can do that with fills, strokes, everything, so that you can copy a style. Really great. But actually what we want is 2-point stroke. So I'm going to go ahead here and delete that, that 0 and make it into 2-point. And now I'm going to show you yet another tool. And there's this thing called the width tool, this kind of crazy looking shape here. And so what this does is it takes any stroke and it allows you to kind of make wider and not so wide areas. So when you mouse over the path, you'll see that, or the line, you'll see that I can click and add I guess I click and hold, and I can bring out this this here to make my line go like that. If I pull inward, right, you see I can change that. And so that might be something neat for doing something like if you're doing cartoon stroking or something like that. You use that to kind of put some variance within the stroke, right? Remember, we learned variance. Let's move right next door to this panel and look at another tool for drawing lines called the pencil tool. And so the pencil tool is N on your keyboard. It's behind this shaper tool that is so worthless. I don't know why they forced that up top. But the pencil tool I use all the time. So with the pencil tool, you can just simply draw a free form line, right? And you see I did that. Now if you double click on it, you can actually have some options with the pencil tool. So how accurately does it track you versus does Illustrator do a little smoothness to it? Some other things here, but that's usually the only one I want. Now if I have something selected already that's been drawn with the pencil tool, I can redraw part of it by just kind of starting on it and retracing it, which is pretty neat. You can also close a shape. So if you go all the way back to the top, you notice my cursor has a little circle in it, and that means that it will close it. So we can go ahead and just close something if we want to put a 3 weight here. Another thing we can do is, and so let's draw one more. I'm going to make the weight 3, and we can do a variable width. So if you look up in the top context thing, you see that we have these various things we can do. Let's not use these, but let's just look at the width profiles. So these are like different calligraphic brushes, basically, that you can play with to create a different shape. And those have to go with the direction that you've drawn the shape and things like that. Again, I am not going to suggest that you use that. Make sure you put it back on uniform when we're done so that you don't go to draw something with a pencil tool and you're like, what is happening here? It's because it's not set to uniform. All right, so I know I said we wouldn't use the pen tool a lot, but let's go ahead and do it. Now, I should also mention, even though I keep glazing, I'll make another video. Let's use the pen tool here, and I'll just go ahead and just click out, 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 click out. Now, I'm done drawing. I'm not closing it up. If I closed it up, it would automatically take me out. So what do you need to do? You need to hit the escape key, and that will get you out of that. So now I have this stroke selected. Let's go look at some more options we can do with this. So let's make a dashed line. So if you notice, there's a dashed line here. And so you can change how it goes. So if I want my dash to be 4 points, by default, it'll put in some value here. Maybe you want 5-point gap. You can change this 1 point. See, notice what I'm doing here to change the dashing. That's really all I want you to know about that. Another thing we can do is I'm going to go back to the P thing, and I'm going to draw a real squared object. Oops, I got to take off my dash here. And, right, it depends on the edges, right? So now this is a really angular, sharp object. We can change the look of something by changing that to, changing the corner styles. So if you look right here, we have these corners. We can change it to, let's bring the weight up so that we can see this better. Bring it up to 8. Notice that the thing can be rounded. It can be kind of mitered or whatever it's called. Just know that all these things are there for affecting your strokes. And last, we're going to talk about the brush. I'm going to honestly say don't use the brush for this class. People love to use the brush. I find the brush to be the worst tool in Illustrator in a lot of ways. But okay, let's use the brush. So I've got this brush, and I can pick these. Before I showed you this variable width profile, but let's now look on the right to these brush styles. And we can go ahead and pick something like, here's charcoal. Everyone loves to go to the charcoal. And now when I draw, the stroke will have this charcoal effect. Maybe the neat thing about brushes is you can change them on the fly. So if I pick this and I want to look at it in something different, I can go pick that, and there it is. I've changed this. Where do you get brushes? There's tons of places online to get different brushes. Again, for this class, largely ignore them. I'm not even going to do this one. So that is a lot to do with drawing, just strokes and freehand drawing and things like that. But I've got even a better thing to do, and I'm going to make a new video.